started with the highlights, and I'll show you guys how to use the Balayroo. So I'm just going to be doing some face framing highlights on her hair. So I already did her root touch up to cover up her gray. And I'm going to kind of show you guys how to fill the Balayroo. I'm going to show you guys how to fill up the Balayroo. You just take your product and put it right inside of there. And I usually will put about an ounce or two in at a time and refill it about 4 times for a full head highlight. So just place the hair inside of the Balayroo, and the product goes on there evenly. It applies it to the top and the bottom, both sides. And I just kind of soften my line up at the top so I have a smooth transition. And then if I want a little bit bolder on the bottom, just kind of grab pieces and apply the product to the bottom. And you really get to freehand this. So just grab the pieces that you want and place the product on there. There's these little teeth on the inside of here that help you push the product all the way through the hair so that you don't end up with any dry spots. So it's a nice even application.
How often do you have to refill the Balayroo?
I usually refill it about 4 times for a full head highlight with about an ounce or 2 in at a time. It really goes, a little goes a long way. And you have control of how much you put on the hair. There's an inside edge here that if I go through and put a little too much product in, I can use that edge to go back and pull that product off and then just use that edge to soften my line. So I have a nice soft transition. And I can go right up to the scalp if I want to get some bright ones that are right up by your scalp. And then again, I'll go back through and apply it to the ends to give her a little bit brighter look for summer. You can see I've been doing my client's hair here for quite a while, so we usually do add a couple highlights using the Balayroo about every other time she comes in for her color service.
Awesome. And we have a question from Taylor, and she says, how long does it take to do a full head of highlights?
I can usually do a full head in about 20, 25, 30 minutes, depending on the density of their hair.
And do you mix the lightener on the thinner or the thicker side?
I like a little bit on the thicker side so it's not super runny. This does have some Olaplex in it. This is Paul Mitchell Synchro Lift with 30 volume, and I did put a little Olaplex in it. I like the Olaplex because it helps keep it from getting damaged but also keeps it from drying out.
Ooh, Kimmy wonders what it's made of and if it breaks down over time.
No, this is one of the original Balaroos, and it's actually made out of a silicone. We at first did a plastic, but it pulled on the hair a little too much, so we switched over to the silicone, and this baby's been through quite a bit. It's sat with 40 volume lightener in it through the weekend, and it's held up great. And it's really flexible, so I can actually use my fingers to play with the product. Sometimes I get people that say that the Balayroo will take the art out of balayage highlighting, but you can see I'm the one picking up the pieces and placing the highlights exactly where I want to achieve the look that I want. So you really get to be your own artist and just work a little faster.
Is it easy to clean?
It is easy to clean. I just use a sprayer that is hooked onto our sink and spray it, otherwise just water and spray it out. Or you could use a little brush, like a little dish brush, to clean out in between the ridges. You can also use color as well. If you are doing some low lighting with it, you can put color inside of there too.
And is this more effective than a glove on your hand?
It is, because of the teeth that are inside of there, you really get to help push the product in between, and I can hold a lot more product at one time than I could if I were just using a glove on my hand. Like I said, there's that inside edge on the inside there that if I get too much product on, I can go back and pull it inside, so I'm not wasting any of that product, and then go back and soften that line. Where with a glove, you have a lot less control and a lot less product to be able to work with.
How do you soften any lines you might have?
So let me show you. If I end up with a line, so that would give me a line right there. I again take that outside edge and go back and pull that in, and then just lightly fan it going up, doing open, close, open, close, open, close, and soften that line. So that way you get a smooth transition. And then once I get to the top, if I want even softer highlights so that we definitely don't see any lines or transitions, I can do a little back combing on that section first. And then take out my pieces. And that back combing just helps soften that line. And then take on those ends. So that way we have very smooth transitions on that top edge of the color. By back combing, you're able to grab a few more sections and do more at one time because you know you'll have that soft transition. I'll go back and grab some of these ends to brighten her up.
So for those who are just watching now, just joining now, Gina wonders, can you go all the way to the scalp with the Balayroo?
Yes, you can. I'm just about to transition over to the other side and I'll show you how to do that. All right, so that side's done. We'll go over to this side. And you can see on this side previously where I've done her highlights using the Balayroo. So today she just came in for a root touch-up. It's been about 8 weeks since I've last seen her. So I already applied the color to her roots, and now we'll go back over and highlight this side.
Layla wonders if it's hard to detangle the back combed parts at the bowl.
No, actually I just shampoo her really gently, and then once I get some conditioner in there, I kind of just run my fingers through it, and it's all set. So I still have the original amount that I put inside the of the color that I put inside the Balayroo. I still have not had to reapply that color. So to answer the question of can you get all the way to the scalp, so I'll get my color on there. Through.
And Rachel's wondering,
like using the Olaplex when I do balayage because it helps prevent it from drying out.
do you always take weave sections?
Not always. I can do, just typically with Melissa's, I try to keep the weave look so you can kind of see it's a really soft transition where she has some brighter pieces. You can see where I've done it before, where she has some brighter pieces, and then I go back over the ends to get those a little bit lighter. But I can show you guys how I do the V using the Balayroo on her hair real quick. So I just kind of take my section and I pluck out the bottom, drop that out. Nice bright ends on the bottom there. And again, those little teeth inside of there, they help push the product all the way through the section, so you can see I'm on top and bottom and I don't have any dry spots going through. If you're looking for a really soft balayage and you don't want it on the top and the bottom, just take really, really fine sections and apply it to the top and bottom on very fine sections, and that way you don't have to worry it'll look really soft, like as if you were to hand paint the top. So you can see as I'm closer up to the top of her head and around her face, I'm bringing the highlights closer to her scalp, and as I work my way back, then I drop further away from the scalp. So it gives it that young kid playing in the sun all summer long type look, where it's really bright around her face.
Teresa wonders, how would you incorporate highs and lows, like applying at the same time using the Balayroo?
So if I were doing some low lights in here too, this section would be a highlighting, and then my next section I would have two Balayroos, one filled with lightener and one filled with a color. I prefer to use permanent color because of the Paul Mitchell color that I use. The permanent color is a little bit thicker than the demi-permanent color. So then I would have one filled with the color that I'm using for the low light, and then my next section would be of low lights. And you just alternate sections. And as long as you have the right consistency of how much you're putting on with color, because those teeth push that product all the way through the section, you don't have to worry about putting too much on. It'll process evenly in a low light because the product's all the way through the section.
So for those just joining, how is this faster for you than just using your hands?
Well, because I don't have to pick anything up while I'm doing it. Everything's right here in my hand. I have the color in it. I don't have to put down a brush or pick up a brush or keep adding product into it. So far, I've only loaded product in the Balayroo one time, and I'm about to have to add a little bit more. But typically it's only about 3 or 4 times for a full head highlight do I have to reload. So it's a lot faster because I'm not constantly having to put my stuff down and pick it back up.
What about if you're retouching highlights only at the root?
So what I would do for that is I would take the Balayroo and go all the way up to the scalp with the highlight and make sure I have plenty of product on at the top of the section. And then that inside corner edge allows me to pull product off. So if I have product on there, I just take that and pull it off, and using that inside edge, so that way I don't have product on here that's going to over damage this. This is very dry still, and I was able to pull most of it off, but then you keep your product up by the scalp.
How do you control bleeds with this?
As long as you have the right consistency of your lightener and you're not applying too much, I tend to not have any problems. But if you really are working on getting more than just a few levels of lift, then you can always place foils in between or plastic wrap in between your sections to prevent from bleeding. So I just reloaded a little bit more product inside of there so you guys can see. And again, if you get a line, so I'm purposely putting a line in there so I can show you guys how to soften. You go back in with that. top corner and just soften that line up. pull that product back into the Balayroo. So I can really take any pieces that I want and hand pick and kind of wherever I think they need to be, go back through and add a little bit of lightener to brighten them up. And then again at the top I want some super soft lines, so I'm going to go back through and I'm going to do a couple of back combing sections, just so that this hair that falls back over top of everything has really soft lines. And I'm not doing the back combing super tight. I'm doing it in there pretty loose so that it's easy to remove in the shampoo bowl.
And what if you're working on bigger sections?
The Balayroo is capable of penetrating because of those little teeth, and because there's an inside pocket on the inside here, I can put quite a bit of pressure on that pocket and really push product through a large section if I need to.
And Teresa is wondering if you could show how to properly load the Balayroo.
Yes, I will. So there are my face framing highlights done over top of a root touch-up. You can see this side's already starting to move and how soft those are. So in order to load, I just get my lightener on the brush and put it inside of there. I usually do about an ounce or two at a time, and I usually will refill it about 4 times per full head. All right, thank you guys so much. I'm glad you guys could be at the salon today to watch.